Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Team Espana show. I am host B, a.k.a. Hobo Sexy, a.k.a. the Buffet Prince, a.k.a. the Guru of Gynophilia. And today, for one night only, I got nothing. I'm a little under the weather. My air conditioner is not working. I'm sweating. My tuchus off. Call me Sweaty McGee because I got nothing. And my co-host, as always.
Yo, it's your boy, Jose, a.k.a. Salsa con Fuego, because I'm muy caliente, a.k.a. the Bike Boy. And just wait, my phone's a little bit messed up, but once I get it back up, you about to see Jose's bike adventures, because, I'll be pedaling and pedaling and pedaling and pedaling. And on today's show, I just want to give a shout-out to all my people who are also out there pedaling, 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 and pedaling. Shout-outs to all my bike boys. With that being said, later on in the show, we got a special guest, our good old Uncle Mo, or as you guys would know him, Mario Bokara stops by. But with that being said, what's good, fam? Sweaty.
I tell you, I don't got the COVID, but I am feeling a little under the weather, a little achy, sweating. My air conditioner is not working. I think by the time Uncle Mo comes back on, I might actually change shirts because I'm sweating through this one. But other than that, man, everything's gravy, baby. Everything's gravy. Back at training, bumping. Bro,
I'm jealous.
Let me tell you something. All right? Let me tell you something. So I'm at Team Adams, Damian Adams School. And my wife is also there. And I just, he gave us open ring and, we were kind of rolling around or whatever and getting our warm-ups in. And I just go to my wife and say, hey, give me a bump and feed. And everybody just turned, what the fuck? Why? I said, look, baby, I'm a heel. If I can't give you a good bump and feed, I have no right being a heel. And I don't like working babyface. So I hit the ropes. She gives me a clothesline. And for those that don't know, a bump and feed is about 3, maybe 4 consecutive bumps where a heel is being attacked by the babyface.
The way I like to put it, not to take away or to cut you off, but the way I like to kind of do it, is it's kind of like a song, like a rhythm or whatever. So I would kind of go ra-ta-ta. You see, that's 3 bumps, boom, 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 every time. So in my head, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but if you have a rhythm of 3 every time, you can't forget a bump and feed. Is that weird?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's you feeling it. You know what I mean? That's you feeling it. But I was supposed to take a clothesline, bump, get up, take another clothesline, bump, get up. She would throw me into the ropes and give me a hip toss. Basic bump and feed. Like if you're at a wrestling school or a training center and they're teaching you bump and feed, that's probably what they're going to give you, right? Line, hip toss. Basic. My brother, I took one fucking clothesline and said, nope, done. Dunsky. My back, my hips, I couldn't breathe. My lungs stopped.
You see, that sounds terrible. That's what I'm scared of most, like coming back into wrestling. But with that being said too, like one of the things that's also kind of weird is like people are starting to open up and bookings are starting like slowly but surely to, get open back up. And with everything happening, we were going to take a booking relatively soon, within like a week or two. And can you imagine not doing, like I haven't wrestled for maybe 4 months and just having to get back in there and just be like, all right, let me do 10 minutes tag match, no problem. Like a lot of guys are doing that. And bro, like that's not good.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, I was talking to my trainer about that. It was just like, that's what like 90% of the independent wrestling community is going to do. Like they're fiending for bookings. You know what I mean? Like, and we've talked about this privately where it's like bookings are for everybody going to become sparse. You know what I mean? They'll become rare because nobody's running. And if they are running, it's like a random day or in a random place that's secure and private, whatever. And there's going to be no crowds. So for me, having a crowd there will give you that adrenaline to get through whatever you need to get through. But bumping for the first time, wrestling for the first time, footwork, timing for the first time, no crowd, God bless the people who could do it because my ass can't. I'll tell you that much right now.
to add another layer to that, imagine if it's somebody you never worked before. Like, it's one thing if it's somebody you've worked before, you kind of have a rapport with them or you know what they do. If it's somebody you're going in there, it's your first time wrestling in nearly 4 months. It's another person's time nearly wrestling in 4 months, and you don't know each other. Bro, that is completely insane to me. Like, if you look at the NBA, if you look at MLB, they always have a spring training. And I feel like you need at least a little bit of training under your belt before you just go out there taking bookings. With that being said, we were going to take the booking, but like,
I believe they got pushed back due to the governor getting involved or something like that. The state had an issue.
Yeah, it's a weird time where it's like things are like open and then they're not open the next day. Like, everything's just spiking up, spiking down. Like, bro, what a roller coaster.
And it's funny because we're in the tri-state area, right? New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. They had that new rule where if you were going out of state and coming back, you had to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. Have you heard about this?
No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
So, no, dead ass. It's like if you drive on the Jersey Turnpike, if you're in New York, if you're going, or Connecticut, if you're leaving the state and coming back, or if you're just coming from another state, you have to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks.
Now, when you say this, if I'm going from New York to New Jersey, do I got to stay in Jersey for 2 weeks in quarantine? Or is it just like any other state that's not New York, Connecticut, New Jersey?
So what I first thought when I saw this was that when you got back to where you were, when you got back home, so to speak, you had to quarantine yourself, right? So if you were coming to my house for whatever reason, and then the next day you had to go home, you'd have to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. But then I researched it, and I was a little ignorant to it. What it is there's a list of states that if you're coming into New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, then you have to quarantine yourself.
Yeah, there's a list that's like, we don't fuck with you, we don't fuck with you, we don't fuck with you. Stay out. That's beautiful.
And no, it's a lot of the states are in like the South and Southeast, like all those states that like didn't give a fuck and was like, yeah, we're going to open back because everything's normal because we're in the South and like it's 90 degrees here every day. Fuck COVID. And then like look at the state of Florida. The state of Florida was like everything back to normal. People were eating inside. I think they weren't enforcing masks. And then maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, they had like 9,000 new cases in a day. Like that's crazy.
Bro, 9,000
in a single day.
That's bro. Nah, they gotta shut that shit down, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that reminds me too. One of the funniest things, and I just want to give a quick PSA: wear your mask. Don't be an asshole. Wear your mask. I'm looking at you, host B.
Me?
No, I'm only saying that because you're on the other side of the screen, so obviously.
Oh, okay.
But now you feel guilty. I got you. You see? Wear your mask.
I wear my mask every time I leave my car. Yeah, don't be like these dumb wrestlers who've been on contracted television who's telling people it's my body and my choice. It's like,
oh my God, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you, as a low-key fan, I am high-key disappointed.
You know what's crazy? I was not talking about Loki. You know who I was talking about? Ooh, Austin Aries.
Wait, what?
Austin Aries came out and was like, yeah, this stuff is bad and COVID is terrible, but like there should be like a middle ground. Like, yeah, COVID has been caused like 100,000 deaths or 500,000 deaths globally, whatever math you spit out. But like you look at heart disease kills more than that. You look at, it should be choice, it should be what you're eating and all this stuff. And like, yo, people ripped on him. Like, bro, heart disease is not contagious. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm fat, that doesn't mean you're going to be fat.
Exactly. Although in this case,
Nah, I like to show Shout out to Bear Boulder, aka Beefcake, because when me and that brother go on road trips or booked in the same place, we go to town, man. We go to town at the diner or the Wawa or Sheets or wherever we are. He brings out the worst in me.
That's wild. But also, I can't believe that Austin Aries is also one of those no maskers. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
it's like,
I would have never guessed that. Only because, like, I don't know. But the low-key one really got me because, like, he wrote statements and, like, defended it again. And it was like, bro, like, nah, like, you put out a tweet that was hilarious. You want to tell the people what it was?
oh yeah, I tweeted. I didn't want to mention names or whatever, but since we're here, I was like, yeah, the guy who thinks wrestling is real thinks the coronavirus is fake. Like, bro, like, get over yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've met Loki one time in passing. It was a quick hello. I think we were at a ring rental and he was booked on the show, and like just a quick hello. But like, you put your opinion out there, it's gonna get people are gonna talk about it.
Yeah. No, it's true.
For better or for worse, you know.
It's all good, fam. It's all good. Lastly, I gotta ask you one thing. How's the beer going? You drinking or not? Because a couple weeks ago on the Big Action episode, you said that you will not be drinking for 30 days. And where we at? 21 days? Somewhere between 21 and 28? I don't really know how to keep track of things.
We are we're about 3 days. No, it's been more than that. It's probably 27 days at this point.
Okay.
Like 30 days is probably like this weekend, which is coincidental because it's almost like I planned it. That July 4th weekend was going to be the time I'm allowed to go out and have a drink or two.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, the Big Action inspired me, you know, take it one step at a time, 30 days. Because like everyone's first reaction at least my first reaction when this quarantine hit was, I'm getting lit, I'm having a blast, like I don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z.
Hey.
I don't got to commute to work. You know, between you and me, I was at certain meetings with certain supervisors, allegedly just and it was great. It was great. But like too much of a good thing is too much, you know? So he inspired me. And I will be honest with you, I was helping Hot Dog Starks move into his lovely home in an undisclosed location. And
guy got a mansion.
Yeah, bro.
Fucking billionaire, bro.
Bro.
Them hot dog lopes.
The bun mansion is real.
This boy got the ketchup and the mustard. Stop playing.
But somebody who was helping him move also bought a case of beer, and I had one or two just because we were like helping somebody move and working hard. And I was like, you know what? I didn't buy it. It's not like I'm buying and drinking a case or drinking the 6-pack or drinking a case by myself. You know what I mean? So one or two. I've had one or two. I'll be honest with you. That's it.
I think you should restart the 30 days, but that's just me.
Baby steps. Hey, speaking of giving stuff up for 30 days, what have you been doing? Huh? What have you been sacrificing?
Damn, you got me looking around. I can't come up with an answer, so here's what I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna do is say, and on that note, folks, it is time we get to our guest. We're going to get on over to Mario Bokara. We're going to have a great conversation. And we're going to watch a match of him and COACHING101. It's going to be a good time, guys.
So, and I'm going to go change my shirt because I'm sweating my tuchus off. And EJ, you want to send us out?
Yeah, we out.
When we come back, we'll have Mario Bokara. Says to me now!
Folks, and we are back. And today's guest is very special. Because he's not just a guest. Today's guest is family. Today, you may know our guest from his long run at WrestlePro, Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Maybe you know him from Ace, OVW, Impact Wrestling. This man has been in the business for almost 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Mario Bokara.
What's up, man?
What's going on, fam?
What's up, dude? It is 20 years now, if I can correct you.
Yes.
I started in February 2000, so after this February was 20 years, man.
Oh, that means Wikipedia lied to me, Uncle Mo, because
Wikipedia is pretty good, though. They keep it updated.
So you knew about your Wikipedia? Because you're one of our first guests to have a Wikipedia, and I think that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Somebody told me about it. They're like, you have a Wikipedia page. It was like one of my best friends. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. It happened like once I was in Impact. Somebody made it. I was like, people are crazy.
That's wild. That's wild. That's
Yeah,
wild.
I'm like, where did they even find this stuff?
That's
Oh,
low-key
man.
something I always wanted. Like, I always, like, for me, like, that was always a goal of mine, because, like, Wikipedia has gotten me through so much. So, like, to see you on, like, Wikipedia, it's like, yo, I know him. Like, yo, that's Uncle Mo. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, I guess, having one, but it's like one of those things too. You're talking about goals. It was like the PWI Top 500 was always one of my goals. I've never been on it in 20 years.
Now, because you said it, this year is gonna happen.
this year, yeah.
No,
This year.
definitely not this
We
year.
put it. We
Well,
put it in
maybe 2020s might be a little weird because everything
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
Well, it's always one of those things too. Like they always said, if you want to be on it, you gotta send your stuff in. So it was like I've never like sent my stuff in. So it was like I just figured at some point eventually I'd be on there. But at the same time, if I'm not, I'm like, it's no big deal.
Now, Uncle Mo, 20 years is a long time, man. A lot of evolutions, a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Mario Bokara, I think in conversations that we've had, is, I guess, the closest to you and your family. But
Yeah.
for a minute, if it's okay with you, who is Mo Sexton?
Sexton?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was using that name in Ace more. Well, I don't even know if I'm sure you've probably seen it maybe on the Wikipedia. When I first started in ECPW, they were calling me Mo Sexy. And that was like, I really didn't want to use that as a name at all. And Gino Caruso was like, no, that's your name. That's it. And they were like throwing around ideas. And it was like, oh boy. I'm like, here we go. And it was just such like a gimmick name, and I didn't really have the gimmick to go with it. So eventually, as I started branching out after ECPW, I wanted to keep the name fairly similar just because everybody already kind of knew who I was. And then I was also watching Edge. Edge's name was Sexton Hardcastle. So I kind of took that off of that as well. I was like, well, Sexton sounds like sexy, and people kind of already know the name. So, and but when I dropped that and I added the Sexton to it, people forgot about like the gimmick or a character, and they just focused on me and the wrestling. And that's when stuff like really kind of, I felt a lot more comfortable in doing it. And then it was just a name. Then I used it for Ace as workhorse, and then wherever I could use it. But for the most part, though, yeah, that was how it really came around. It was just I wanted to drop the gimmick and just be taken for my wrestling skill, and that was where it all came about.
And so how does the workhorse, right? Mo Sexy, Mo Sexton, the workhorse.
Yeah.
How does that lead to Mario Bokara?
Well, I mean, I was doing the workhorse gimmick because Moff actually kind of gave me that moniker because when I first met Moff, it was through Ace. And he had watched a match of mine. And he goes, yo, he's a workhorse. And I'm like, goddamn right I am. And that was kind of like, I was always like that anyway, with work and everything. I was always just kind of like a workhorse in general. So I was like, you know what? I'm like, nobody's using it. I was like, it works. So I stuck with that. And then eventually I was wrestling for a few years, and I ended up getting a really bad injury. Well, I'd already been banged up for years, but I had an accident at work where I fell off a ladder, and I was drilling a big 4-inch hole through concrete, and I hit rebar, and I spun around, and I fell off a ladder, and I hit the beams in the ceiling and everything. And I was out for like a year, maybe a year and a half. I had 2 herniated discs in my neck and 2 in my back. It was C4, C5, and L4, L5 that were herniated so bad they were hitting nerves. So I was losing feeling from like the fingertips down to my toes all the way on the right side. I had no grip strength. I couldn't grip like a drill for any longer than 2 seconds, and my hand would just open up.
Oh,
So
shit.
yeah, eventually I would wake up in the middle of the night, and both of my arms were, like when you get a dead arm or a dead hand, and it's like pins and needles, and you can't move it. Both of my arms were like that all the way down, and I'd wake up like every hour or two like that and happen to shake them off or, like just kind of work it out. And then had like 5 epidural procedures in that same year. And eventually I was just like, man, if I got to come back, I got to do something different. And that was where I kind of had the idea of doing the Croatian character. But then it really came into play when I went to visit my family in Croatia. And I was like, man, nobody's Croatian. I'm like, why am I not doing this? You know, like, and then my cousin played me the song, the entrance music. And I was like, and that was like, that triggered like the whole thing. As soon as I heard that song, I was like, yo, this is like entrance music, bro. I'm like, I was just kept picturing an entrance over and over again every time I'd listen to it. And I was just like, well, I know I got the song if I ever decide to do it. So, and the song kind of came with it. And finally I was working for D2W with Jersey Devil up in Wharton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever been there. I know Nikos has worked there. I don't know who else. I sent a couple guys that way.
Yeah, we've heard the Brick City Boys are over there. We're over there.
Yeah, right. Gibbs was over there, and Mike Dell was over there at the time, actually, too. And that was when, because like Croatia, like the character was basically just based off my dad. Like the accent was my dad's, and like I originally was looking at it as like a soccer character because that's like my dad played soccer, and soccer's big in Croatia. I mean, World Cup came around, and you know, like they went to the finals. So that was how it started. And then Gibbs and Dell saw me work a match, and they told Pat, and they were like, dude, that's the best shit he does. Like, it's so good. And then Pat saw it and kind of talked to me, and he was like, would you do it here? And I was like, what, am I just going to come out and be Croatian now? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, well, what if you were like, you know, more of a shooter, like Taz or like Kurt Angle kind of? And I was like, 5'9" and 200 pounds. You know, like, I don't know if I can pull it off. And he's like, you can pull it off. I'm like, all right. And Pat really gave me a lot of the direction of the character. And with Eric too, with PWS, they were both kind of pretty influential on making the character what it was. But originally for me, it was just like a heel character, soccer ball. And you guys come out with a soccer ball now anyway. So
yeah, you were definitely really influential with that too. Like when we first started out, it was just like, we didn't know what to do. And like when we were soccer players, you kind of guided us. And you were always, I mean, Uncle Mo, if we're being quite frank, you are hands down like the go-to person, like in all things wrestling. Like you were, I would say, our mentor. Like,
well, that's cool.
Very much so. Like,
yeah, man, most definitely. I know I've told you this privately, and hopefully it's cool to say it publicly. Like when I started wrestling, like one of my goals was I want to be able to go to like be booked on a show and not know who I'm working and meet the person and then go in the ring and 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes later have like an entertaining match. Mm-hmm. And like when you're starting out, like you don't know the alphabet, let alone, you know, calling spots, you know? Yeah. So like, you know, with your help and your mentorship and your like advice and your tough love and your and putting up our bullshit sometimes too.
I was pretty honest, but I wasn't too tough, I don't think.
No, you were fair. You were fair.
It was all good, man. It was all good. And now I feel like now I know me personally, I'm there. You know, I can go to a wrestling show and be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm this person. Hey, I'm this person. All right, cool. See you out there. And like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, you know, put on a decent wrestling match, which was always one of my goals. And that's like in a large part thanks to you.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
And not only that, Uncle Mo, that's one of the things we actually wanted to talk to you about was that you're a really good trainer and you're somebody who's been training names such as us, Anthony Bowens, I mean, Beefcake, just to name a few people. And I wanted to know a little bit about your philosophy in training and a little bit about your time in OVW and how that might have influenced your time as a trainer.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was kind of where first off, I appreciate that a lot because it really does mean a lot. Like I took coaching very serious. Coaches for me, like throughout my high school and football and like coaches were a big influence for me. They were like father figures for me because, you know, family relationship was tough growing up. And I looked to a lot of coaches for a lot of, you know, support. And just like I said, that male role model of somebody to look up to. And I always said I wanted to be a teacher and coach football. I loved football. Football was so much fun. But once I got into college, I was 5'9" and 200 pounds, and I was a lineman. And they were like, bro, if you're not over 6 feet something and 300 pounds, like you're not going to be a lineman. And it was too late for me to transition into a different position because people were already playing running back for years, you know, like, I just kind of went the way it went. But when I went into OVW, then was when Rip Rogers, like I learned so much with Rip that I always said it was like I learned more with Rip in 1 year than I did in 6 years on the independents before that. And he was just like such a great coach. And I used to go to Dr. Tom seminars all the time, and Dr. Tom was so patient and soft-spoken, but he was tough when he needed to be. But he was also a really good role model as far as a coach. I mean, and you know who he's coached. He's coached like The Rock, and you know what I mean, like so many other people. So when I was in OVW, I was training, and eventually, like the most advanced guy would teach the beginners class. And a couple guys would go up and leave. Mike Mondo was coaching at one point. And then Rip came up to me and was like, do you want to coach a beginner's class? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that'd be awesome. And I'm like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. And a lot of times the coaches were doing whatever they wanted. He was teaching guys anything. And Rip was like, your job is to get them ready for my class. He goes, so when they graduate, when they come up to me, I don't have to stop my drills and stop what I'm doing to catch them up. So I was like, all right, well then, that's what I'm going to teach them. So I basically just went over all the drills that you're going to see in Rip's class, or what you're going to experience in Rip's class in the beginner's class. So I was slowing it down. And like, even there was a drill called high spot. It was a really advanced. We've done high spot before. You guys have run high spot, where it's the shoot off, double reverse, leapfrog drop down, leapfrog drop down.
Oh yeah.
Three things. And I was doing that with the beginners guys. And people were like, yo, you're running high spot with the beginner's class? And I'm like, yeah, I just slowed it down. Like we just did it, you know, slower until eventually they got it. And people were like blown away that I was running high spot with the beginners guys. So I had like one or two. There was this one guy, he was really short. We called him Sonic. That was what he wanted to do. He wanted to be like Sonic the Hedgehog. And he had a blue mask and a blue suit, and he was like Sonic. And he was the first guy that I sent up to Rip's class, and he right away. He knew all the drills, knew everything we were doing. He just fit right in. And that was like, Rip was, you know, took that as a big, okay, well, obviously you know what you're doing. So and I said, well, I'm just doing what he told me to do. So, but that was when I really got the bug for coaching, because it was just like, I loved it. It was so much fun. And so that was really where I first started doing any kind of coaching. And I said, I got a lot of it from Rip and Dr. Tom, watching them. And then when I coached at Ace for a while. Jay Lethal was like the main coach at Ace for a long time, and I was kind of helping him out with stuff. And then once I got with Pat at PWS and WrestlePro, and Pat went through the same system I did, and he went even through a lot more than I did with Al Snow's class and all the advanced class. Like Pat was in everything, and it just kind of snowballed from there. He was like, you need an assistant or a hand in this, and like I said, and then it just kind of came into, I was doing tuitions, I was doing, you know, attendance, I was doing everything. And then I was basically just like kind of the right assistant trainer to Pat. And like I said, I loved coaching, the fact that I could be able to help people, because I didn't get a lot of help. I mean, I had help, of course, everybody gets help, but it was rough. It was rough coming up in that early 2000 stage of the wrestling business, a lot different than it was now. So I was just always like, I appreciated the people that helped me out, and I just always wanted to be able to help people out. I just like helping and coaching and teaching stuff too. So it's like wrestling was just like, I don't know, like it's hard because it's like that's the best thing I do. I feel like it's the most thing I know about, and it's been a long time since I've gotten to do all that stuff. But those were my main influences in coaching. But then it just kind of snowballed from there when I started working with Pat. And he said I'd been through the same system he did with Rip, and he was just like, he trusted me and my knowledge, and yeah, I mean, I love coaching. That's like my all-time favorite thing. I don't got to take any bumps. I don't got to hurt myself anymore, but I still like to get in there. I get itchy, but I get really excited. I mean, you guys would see me when I get into something and I get excited about something, and I'm like, I show somebody something or show them a drill or show them a spot, and everybody's face lights up. I'm like, oh, that's, ooh, yeah. Can you show me how to do that? Can we work on that? I'm like, all right. So, I like being able to, be like that go-to guy of, like you were saying, like we would go to you for whatever. I just like being that person that if people feel comfortable talking to, and if they have a problem, if they have a question, then I can go to them and at least help them out or try to point them in the right direction. So
yeah, that was always the best. Well, to speak on what you were talking about, that was always the best whenever you would hop in, you know what I mean? And like, I'm doing the drill with you, or you're going to give me heat, or I'm going to give you heat, or we're going to do this man in the middle drill, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Like, your enthusiasm, like, infected everybody in the class. You know what I mean? And you can, it's like school, you know what I mean? If your teacher is passionate about the subject, some of that is going to rub off on you, whether it's wrestling, whether it's math, social studies, science, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that for me was like the best stuff. And then what I feel like you would do that none of our other trainers or coaches would do was you would give us homework. Like, you would go, hey, watch this match. It's on YouTube. If you don't have the network, get the network. You're in wrestling, you should have the network just for study alone. And you would give us a match. And be like, I want to know A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and message me or text me if you have my number, or, you know, if not, next practice, I want those answers. Yeah. And so that was always like, you had to get involved in the wrestling business, studying, you know, the athletics, the physicality, everything. And that's one of the things kind of as we encountered other coaches and stuff, we didn't get that. Mm-hmm. You know, so it was very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to try to I'll always kind of break things down into layman's terms, or just I would always try to throw some kind of a spin on it to relate it to something that was outside wrestling so that people could kind of understand what I was talking about. Like, I can't even give you an example right now, but I know that, I mean, I know a couple students, they told me, they're like, I love like your little mannerisms or your little little tweaks that you put on something so you can, you know, you can make them understand if they weren't like in wrestling for a long time. Like, it's just one of those where you'd relate it to dating somebody. You would relate it to a job. You would relate it to school. You would relate it to something that people can understand what you're talking about, but breaking it down. And I don't know, like I said, I loved, like, no matter what was going on in my life or work or drama or bills or anything, like that 6:30 to 7 to 9, like those coaching times, like, man, like I felt like more alive doing that than, you know, like any other time before that. And then even, you know, this aside from being in the ring, but I don't know, I love it.
Oh man, it's you could still hear, for everybody like on YouTube and stuff watching this, like you could still hear his enthusiasm about it. Like, I'm ready to like lace up some stuff and head to the ring and be like, all right,
yeah.
I'll
to do some man in the middles, Papa. Stop playing. Lock up, headlock, takeover. Leg scissors, kick out.
Run it again. Like, I was always too. I was just a firm believer in, like, can I curse? You curse? It's not a big deal.
Yeah, nah, go ahead.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I don't, like, if somebody did something wrong, I believed in making sure that I pointed it out that they were wrong. But I was always, if you did something right, I was going to let you know it. And if I saw how you did it, I want it just like that every time. Because with wrestling, it was just repetition. It's reps after reps after reps. Where you do it 1,000 times to where you can do it in your sleep. Or you don't do it until you get it right. You do it until you can't do it wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, that was, and when somebody would get it, that was like, it's like watching your kid take his first step. You know, like, you're like, I showed them that, you know, like, you're watching you guys work a match and do something. You're like, I was a part of that. Like, I helped you with that. Like the match we worked when we did with La Resistance and I'm getting the heat and you picked me up and you took the back bump with me on top of, like, the body slam back bump. Yeah. And you didn't even call it. You just, like, did it. And I was just like, and you were like, yo, that's like Uncle Mo right there, bro. You're like, that's like my classic hope spot. And I was just like, heck yeah, you know, like, and it's just like things like that where you're like, like I said, you were part of helping somebody get something, or just like this is a really hard thing to do as far as like having a dream and following it. And I just always wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't even think I would get as far as I did, but eventually then you want sky's the limit. You want it all. But just to be able to, I remember before I even got into it, I said, man, if I could just work somewhere and do something and, you know, do this or just be part of it, that'd be great. So just be able to help people with that, like follow a dream, like even if it's not, you know, WWE or millions of dollars or whatever it is, like you're still following a dream, like you're still living your dream by wrestling, because everybody had a dream about doing it at one point. Mm-hmm. So either what position you're in, you're already living it, no matter where you are. Like, so it's like, you know, like just to be a part of that is awesome.
Nah, yeah, that's definitely true. And to go back to what you were saying about that spot, just that was something you kind of drilled into our head too, was just like always have things like backup things that you can go to. And I went through a phase where I thought I was a little smaller than I actually am. So I just figured everyone I pick up, I just had to like go down with.
Yeah.
And I just remember you telling us in the back, like that was good, and just feeling so proud. Like that was the moment, like, yeah, like I did it. So
yeah.
But yeah, like definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it got a good reaction too. And I was like, you know, and I hooked it tight and we were kicking and we were going, and it was like, bam, you just came back and you shut me back down. And I was like, that's the shit I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
That's the shit you can't call. It's just going in there and feeling it. And that was like that's a lot of what it is. And that was what Rip instilled in me too, was just get in there and go. Like, that was why I've always kind of told everybody, like, you know, you try to figure out that basic recipe for cookies, and then once you figure out how to do it, then you can put your own spin on it, make whatever cookies you want, you know. I said, but you got to have an idea of how the recipe works first before you can start changing stuff and adding stuff and doing certain different things. And everything's going to change depending on what you're doing, you know, and who you're working with. But that was where I really, Rip taught me that 6-minute on the fly match, tag matches, like just you and you go, you and you heels go, Mario, you're driving. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right, so if the match sucks, it's on me, you know, like, so that was just the way it was. And eventually all I would think about was cutoff spots and comebacks and finishes. And that was all I needed. And it was like, and I've done that with other matches too, where your opponents show up 10 minutes before you guys are going out. You call the cutoff and you call the finish, and that's it. Everything else is like,
call it out there.
Yeah, shine, cut off, heat, comeback, finish. Like the basics, you know, like I said, the basics of it. But you can figure it out as you go. But as long as you know the cutoff and as long as you know the finish, like, you're good. Everything else, you take your time, you slow down this way. Because if you don't know, you know, you don't know what you're doing, why are you going 100 miles an hour? You know, in a real fight, you don't know what's going to happen. In a real match, you know, it's like if this is a real straight up contest, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next, so I'm going to be cautious, you know, like, so people go 100 miles an hour, and it's like, that's the biggest thing too, slow down. How many times does everybody say, slow down? Yeah. I'm going to tattoo it on your forehead, slow down.
Oh, man. Bringing back so many memories of just being like, all right, tag team match. All right, Javi, EJ, and this person versus this person, that person. All right, you lead. And it's like, no, like, no, like you're not in that, you know. But because of that, those moments, and because of that struggle, like I said, like, we are who we are now because of those drills and because of that tough love. And you were great at, like, pointing out the good stuff, pointing out the bad stuff, but doing it in a way that at the end of the day, you were better for having gone through it as a performer and wrestler. Uncle Mo, we can literally talk to you until the sun comes up.
I know.
We got nothing but love for you. But the people at home are getting a sense of your enthusiasm and your love for professional wrestling. You got time to watch a match with us? You know, point out some pointers, tell some stories.
Yeah.
Entertain the people at home.
Sure, man. Whatever you got. I'm already feeling better about wrestling anyway, so I can't wait.
Hell
I love
yeah.
talking it.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break with commercials that we have not yet filmed that we will one day,
nice.
Which is a running joke on the show. And when we come back, we will have Mario Bokara in the ring. With who? Wait and see. We'll be right back, folks. All right, folks.
All right, so we're
All
watching.
right, folks. All right, folks. We are back. As you can see, Wrestle Pro, Alaska, Mario Bokara, Coke Cabana. Mo, you were talking about Uncle Mo. You were talking about this earlier. Your entrance, dude.
Yeah.
I can remember being on shows with you, and half the locker room is marking out for your entrance alone, just bobbing their heads, doing the fucking towel, the flag, bro,
Clapping.
clapping. To
That
this
theme
day,
song
I'll
is
still do the
fire.
beat. You know what I mean?
I told you, man, that's where it all started. I said that was like I had the entrance and idea down, and that was it. That was the biggest flag I could buy on, and I always tripped on it. But I just always thought the bigger the better, man. That's how I thought about it. Over the top, with robes, everything.
Badass. So what, like, talk about the entrance. Like, what was the evolution of the entrance? You know what I mean? Because
I mean, I just kind of, it was like a little bit of Triple H in there, on the middle of hard cam, like I got on the ropes there, and part of it too was the Russian from Rocky. Like that was kind of like my ideas of he had that entrance when he fought Rocky and Rocky 4.
mm-hmm.
And it was always kind of like my combination too. But then everything else, I just kind of felt it when I was out there. But it just started. Eventually, you have to have the same thing. Like, and it evolved because I was doing it for TV or reality wrestling in Texas when I was down there, and just start, like Pat always said too, you gotta have, like, the entrance is the same thing all the time, so you just do the exact same thing wherever you go.
How did you get the theme song? Like, how did you come up with the theme song?
I said my cousin, I found it when I went to Croatia. My cousin just played it for me in the car one day, and I was like, dude, what is this? And it was just like, it was everything. I'm like, it was the whole character, everything, the whole gimmick was based off of just hearing that song when I went to Croatia. That's how it all kicked off, and I was just like, man, I'm like, this song is entrance music. I used to listen to all music to see if it was entrance music.
Just try it out. One of the things that you showed us about the song was a concert of the song actually being performed. And I just remember seeing that video and thinking, like, the people are going along with it and everything.
Yeah.
And, like, you feel those chills during your entrance, too. Like, it's something about that song that it gravitates everywhere.
The song is like, it was like a part of me. It just did so much.
Uncle Mo
Yeah.
and Uncle Bad.
And when I first did the Croatian gimmick, and I did it at PWS, and that song came on, everybody popped. As soon as they heard that was my new music, everybody popped. And I was like, I knew I was onto something. And there's Colt doing all his stuff right away. And it was cool because he really, let me call a lot of this. And, he's just like, well, what do you see? I'm like, I see you fucking with me and me getting pissed off. Like, that was, like, he gave me a lot of free range to call stuff. And he's just so easy too. I mean, he's like, it's just everything is easy with him.
Yeah, it's definitely like something you got to be in the moment. It's acting but not acting, but reacting. And this isn't the first time you guys have wrestled either, right? You guys have wrestled.
No, we wrestled at PWS, but this is like, I think the second or third time. Second time, I think. Either second or third, but this is definitely not the first time.
Straight up technical wrestling. I remember I remember it was me and I remember the Black Stallion Delroy.
Mm-hmm.
Just going like, man, my favorite wrestler right now is Mario Bokara. Just with everything, intensity, he could grapple you with technical skills. And at the time, you were PWS champion, and you were cutting like promos on. They gave you promo time.
Yeah.
And so it was like everything you said was like in your character and creative, but like at the same time, your wrestling matched your character, your promo matched your character, the entrance matched your character, the song matched your character. Like I felt like you always knew who you were, and now everything kind of lined up with it.
Yeah, it's like once you figure out who the character is, and then you can just. I always said for me too, it was like head to toe. Like you needed to know top to bottom. Like I couldn't put any more checkers on me than I could possibly do. But yeah, I knew once I got it down, I knew who he was, and that was it. And it's like being the heel here, like especially against Cole. I love being babyface, but man, there's something about working heel.
Javi says that all the time. He much rather be heel than babyface, which for some odd reason I feel opposite. I always thought like I enjoy being babyface more.
I do too. I really do enjoy being babyface, but
Ooh.
it's just that when you as soon as you walk out of that entranceway with another country's flag in America, you're automatically a heel unless you give them a reason to cheer you.
Yeah, we've had that problem a couple of times where it's like with Team Espana in middle of random PA. How are we gonna be babyface?
Yeah,
and you gotta be creative and know your characters and work around it. I always say like I only prefer working babyface just because it's easier to sell merchandise, you know.
Yeah.
So like you know, whereas like we like being the type of heels that like no, I don't want to sell merchandise. I don't want to let go of that mystique of the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that fine line of you can, and just a fine line you got to walk. It's a little more challenging.
Well, now if you notice, now we're in the heat here, and I cut the cutoff was he had me in back into the ropes. I gave him a headbutt and then gave him the belly to back, and just a couple punches choked him on the rope. I went for the sharpshooter just to tease it. He pushed me off, and then I mounted him, and that was. Basic heat. Like Jeff Jarrett always said too, as soon as you cut that guy off, once you get in the middle of the ring, just give him a couple stomps or a couple punches and just soak it in a little, slow it down. And right now, that's why I was always using that sharpshooter recently as something. When I first got back into it, and that was just another thing that I added to it. It was just people are always reacted to it. It was, you're teasing something. I was always, too, a big Benoit fan. I loved Chris Benoit. And he was crossface and sharpshooter. So I watched a lot of him when I was getting back, too. And I was like, why am I not, just take it. Take it from guys you like. So I was like, I'll just use it.
Yeah, and at this point, at this point in your career, I mean, I think you were coming back from an injury, right? Was this like
I already had the ACL meniscus tear. This was which is why I have long pants on now, because I have a brace on. And I always said, if you wear a brace and nobody goes after that, they're a fucking idiot.
German.
It's a Croatian.
Croatian.
But yeah, so that was why. So it slowed me down, and I stopped moving, doing as much running and doing certain things. So grab a hold.
And gets the crowd back into it. And it's not like to your point, it was basic heat and all this stuff, but like you're looking at the moves and like a lot of this stuff, a lot of the sequences and the moves, they aren't like basic per se. You know what I mean? But like the structure and the plot of the story that you guys are telling is like, hey, it's easy to follow along, it's easy to digest. And to me, that's the best wrestling. The moves aren't necessarily basic, but like that story is like classic bad guy, classic, goofy baby face, good guy. Mm-hmm. And like as a fan, if I've never, and for people that don't know, this is like one of Wrestle Pro right now is in Alaska. And this is like, I think the first show maybe.
This is the first one. And we were in a big arena too, so it's a lot different working. You're working more WWE style because it's a large building. And we were second match on the card, and so it was don't do too much. But I always said it's just constant movement. Like even though, like you don't always have to be doing specifically a move or something, but you have to constantly be moving. And that was always my thing too, was just keep moving. And a lot of times, most of the matches I had, people were like, "You look like you did a lot, but you really didn't." Like when you go back and think about it, in the move wise and the bump wise and certain things, like timing and conditioning. I always said timing and conditioning are everything. You condition to go as long as you need to go, and as long as Nothing beats timing, man. Doesn't matter what it is. There you go, the armbar.
The big arm bar.
I mean, in Alaska, they had no idea. They had no idea what what moves we each did or what we had. But you can understand. They could understand. When he was in trouble.
And for a lot of people in the crowd, this probably might be their first wrestling show or their first non-WWE show or just their first wrestling show, period. So, like, having a match like that, hey, I know who the good guy is, I know who the bad guy is, and these guys are busting their ass right now. Here we are at the finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to your point, it's constant movement.
Tap, roll, and get the fuck out. That was always the thing. You tap it and get out. Roll right back to the entranceway of the locker room.
That's it. Let the babyface get his pop, so to speak.
Yeah, and I remember coming back through the curtain, and Hornswoggle was there, and that was one of the earlier matches I did. Even Pat was right at Gorilla. He was doing the music, and he came back and he's like, that was fucking great. And like sometimes getting like a thumbs up from Pat, like you were like, you took that as like a, badge of honor if he was, gave you something good. But I remember it said Hornswoggle. I walked through the back and he looked at me and he goes, Mario, he goes, that was fucking perfect. And I was like, thank you, man. That's like one of the best compliments I can get, especially from him, because he's very, he's been around a long time. He's seen a lot. He's done a lot. He knows wrestling. So he knows like when he's seen something good. And you got to know where you are in the card too. I always tell people, like, your second match, I think the first one might've been a tag match. I don't remember, but like I always like doing the submission because it was something different than what everybody else was doing. But it was just, you in and out, get it done, nonstop action, nonstop movement, as least amount of bumps as possible. Honestly, now that I look back, I think the bump feed was probably the most bumps I took in that match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it goes to your point of telling a story and not sacrificing your body in order to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like in terms of wrestling overall, and this is not a knock on anybody, I feel like a lot of people haven't figured out that, hey, storytelling is more important than, killing yourself.
The actual moveset. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, working with Colt, I'm like, he's like, how do you see this going? I see you pissing me off and doing your goofy shit, and then eventually me cutting you off, get my heat. And that was always, like if you're going to hit something, tease it first. So I said, if I'm going to go for the sharpshooter, you're going to push me off, I'm going to shut you down, shoot reverse, catch your foot, boom, sharpshooter. Now everybody knows because you're going for it already. So now when you get it, it's like, okay, it makes sense. You're going for it. They counter it, boom, you get it back. So that's why I was like, that kind of tells you what the match is going to be like with what 3 moves you're going to hit. Because if these are the 3 moves I'm going to do, I'm going to tease it. So that's the spot. The spot is go for that, counter it, reverse it, boom, shut back down. Go for it again, counter, reverse it, shut back down. Little comeback from the baby phase, shut them down, get the move now. Cover, kick out, or submission, whatever it is. So that tells you what spots you're going to do is by what moves you're actually going to execute. Like I always said, you have your 3 things you want to hit. Just tease them now. Everybody already knows now what you're going for. They're waiting for you. So when you finally hit it, they're like, oh, you got it. Tell them a story. It makes it a lot easier, too, for trying to think of, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. Just go for something, tease it, reverse it. People understand.
It's that simple. Storytelling 101. Do you see why Uncle Mo is one of our best trainers ever? I said it.
Hey, man, by the time you get all those spots in, it's time to go home.
That's it. And
right.
we already did it. We done did everything. We good. We safe.
That's it. Do what you pick the moves that nobody else is doing on the card. Find something, so tease it, go for it, tease it, go for it, So it all depends on where you're on the card, too, so. Just know where you're at, know what to do, know what nobody else is going to do. And, your match should be different than everybody else's. That's what makes it good.
And lastly, I just wanted to say that transition you did into the armbar was kind of dope because Colt went to whip you off, and the way you kind of like threw him down to set up into it was really smooth.
Yeah. It was a shoot reverse. I would do the weave through into the arm wrench and just bam, because it was just an easy transition for everybody to take too. Like everybody was like, I'm like, I'll just wind it up. You take a face bump, and you're like, all right, cool. And it's easy, and that's the thing too. If it's easy for them to get into, and they want it, and they'll do it, it's like no problem. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It works every time.
Oh man, Storytelling 101. I think that's gonna be the name of the episode.
Storytelling 101.
Oh man, Uncle Mo. Like I mentioned before, we could talk to you till the cows come home and the sun comes up.
I hear you, man.
And you know, and we know you're, you know, busy man, got a lot of stuff going on. But where where can the followers of the Team Espana show and all the great people out there in YouTube land find Mario Bokara on the socials?
Well, again, like we were just saying, keep it simple. I keep my social media very simple. Just Mario Bokara, Mario, and then _ Bokara. Like literally, that was the simplest I can get. It's on Instagram, it's Facebook, it's whatever, you know, Twitter as well, I think. So I'm not really much of a Twitter person. I stay off a lot of social media, especially since I haven't been active wrestling, and it's just like, especially nowadays, everything is just. But you can still find me. I still check it. I'm still on there, but I may not be as active as I should be on it, but. You Google my name or put it on YouTube or Instagram or just search my name and you'll find it.
Mario _ Bokara. One final question for you.
Yeah, man.
You mentioned Triple H earlier. How many times, like when you were talking about your entrance and like, you know, the Triple H influence of finding the hard cam standing in the middle, how many times has someone seen you wrestle and like, you know, as a heel they make fun of you or whatever, even maybe as a baby face, I don't know, but yeah. They go, hey man, you look like Triple H or whatever, blah blah blah. Like, dude, how many times has that happened to you throughout your career?
Dude, if I had $1 for every time someone told me I look like Triple H, I'd be rich. when I wrestled Orange Cassidy at WrestlePro, they called me knockoff Triple H. And even when I got to Impact, people were calling me Triple H. The one guy called me Quad because Triple H tore his quad. So he called me. Anthony, one guy, Tony, called me Quad. And then, like I said, a lot of the guys too, they either call me Quadruple H or little H or something because they were like, man, don't he look like Triple H? And I'm like, it's the nose, dude. It's the nose. It's totally the nose. But he was a big influence on me anyway, so I guess it's a compliment. I always took it as a compliment. But even when I came down here, I was in Starbucks, and a guy came up to me, and he's like, dude, did anybody ever told you look like? And I'm like, Triple H? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I said, yeah, maybe once or twice. Maybe once or twice somebody told me that. I said, but yeah, I think I've heard it before. So yeah, man, I said if I had $1 for every time somebody told me that, I wouldn't be working right now.
I hate to bring it up, but I knew like as a rib, I had to mention it at some point.
No, dude.
I kind of scared too.
I always took it as a compliment. I said, so, you know, I said, I'll take it.
Word. Well, Uncle Mo, don't be a stranger. You
I know.
You have my number and stuff, and you know, next time you're up here, you always got a place on my couch.
And I'm gonna be on your couch, Uncle Mo. Hit me up on Facebook.
So when I get my place all set up, if you ever guys want to come down, just let me know. Let me know when you come.
Hell yeah. Team Espana trip to Florida. Yeah.
Especially when wrestling gets back going and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I still have a little bit. I said I've been out for a while, injuries and concussions last year and everything, but I'm starting to get that little itch where, like, I always say, because you never know when your last match is going to be, because the last one you had could be your last. And the one I had in Hungary, that was the last one I've had, and I didn't realize that was my last at the time. But I'd like to be able to get back to do just a couple of things that I'd like to do. I want to end it on my terms. I want to do a couple things and get a couple things off the bucket list or work with some people again that, you know, it wasn't worth risking injuries to get in there and just have a match with anybody just for the sake of working. So I'd like to, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to Nigel McGuinness, but like Nigel did his, you know, retirement tour, you know, like I would like to be able to be in enough shape to make a list of people who I want to work with, and cut that bucket list. Check them all off before I go.
Hell yeah! And I'm not saying this because you're on our show, but maybe, maybe Jose and Jose B might be on that list somewhere. I don't know.
Hey man, I get one more run, one more match. I get a partner.
Word.
I get a partner.
Hell yeah!
No,
Well,
do
like I
handicap.
said,
Don't worry, Uncle Mo.
Handicap, you'll put
Handicap.
me over, right?
Yeah, bump around.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
I'll still put you over, right?
oh man.
Rin, yes, you're on that list. Corinne's definitely on that. Corinne's 100% on that list. But I ain't putting you over, girl. I'm sorry. I'll shine you the fuck up, but I ain't putting you over.
Inside baseball on the Team Espana show.
I am making you tap. I'll let you roll me up.
Hey.
I'll
Well,
pass out.
folks.
How about that? I'll pass out.
Oh my God.
I'm dead.
This is wild.
I'll pass out. I'm a gig like in the sharpshooter, like Brett and Austin wrestling. And I'm gonna let Rin tap. I'm gonna pass out. Let her fuck me up and pass out.
That's beautiful. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. That's an exclusive. Oh man! All right, to wrap it up, Jose, do you got any final words for our people at home?
Of course, I do. 1-800-555-JOSA. I'm still waiting. My line ain't busy. I check it. I pick up my house phone to make sure every now and then it's ringing, but not from the right people. So please, please, please get me the information. 1-800-555-JOSA. I'm waiting.
He's got a hotline. He's like that old ghetto hotline. You pay $1.99 a minute.
Yes.
That's how he gets you.
Oh man, Uncle Mo, once again, thanks for being on the show. We love you.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I love you guys too. It was awesome.
Hell yeah. All right, folks. This is the Team Espana show. It's been an A and B conversation. We'll see you next week. Peace. That's it.